everybody, how's it going? You know the drill. Can somebody chime in and let me know if you can see me and hear me okay, and all that good stuff? Hey man, how's it going? So everything working? All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate that, Brian. All right. Ooh, teeth pulled. That's no bueno. No bueno. So how's everybody doing tonight? All right, well, to welcome everybody back tonight. Hope you're all doing great. And tonight, as you can see, oh, great, Brian. Thank you. I appreciate that. Tonight, as you can probably tell because you can read by the title, that we're going to be doing some AC/DC riffs. Now, we're only going to be doing just a few. There are so many different ones to choose from and stuff. So anyhow, I kind of thought maybe we'll revise this on another night, do some more AC/DC riffs. I mean, they have such a huge catalog. Oh, Boss DS1, great pedal. That's what I use is Boss. I really like their stuff. So anyhow, the ones that I chose tonight, I wanted to have some that would be really accessible to anybody. So even if you literally just picked the guitar up yesterday, be a couple of these that be able to play. And then one that's a little bit more advanced that happens to be my personal favorite AC/DC riff that we'll be looking at too. Right, so I guess we should go ahead and just get started with it then. So as usual, there's a link in the description. If you can click on that, you can download the tabs for these riffs that we'll be going over tonight. So I'm going to get those so that way you can follow along. Let's see here what. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm having a little technical difficulty here. All right, yeah. So the first one we're going to look at, and again, said that I wanted to, a lot of these are pretty, are pretty easy. They're, like I said, if you literally just yesterday, a lot of these you'd be able to play right away. So first one here let's look at is T.N.T. So this one is really easy. This is like the easiest AC/DC riff that I could think of. There could be easier. I don't know. So if somebody out there can think of a AC/DC riff that's easier than this one, leave it in the comments because I'd like to know, because if there is, I missed it. All right. So for this one, you basically only need to use two fingers, just your first and your second finger. So we've got this E5 power chord. So if you already know like all your like open chords and stuff, it's basically E minor, but we're not going to play. We're only going to play the E, A, and D string. So you're going to want to use you want to play it just with your first finger. So you must take your first finger and just bar it across the A and the D string at the second fret, and then keep that low E open. So that's E5. And then just, it's always good to kind of know not only what you're doing, but why it's, oh, you like easy? Well, we got you covered tonight then. Except the last one, it's a little bit more challenging. So when you see a chord written like that, it just says E5. What they're referring to is that a major chord is made up of the first, third, and fifth note of the major scale, and a minor chord is made up of the first, flat, third, and fifth of the major scale. So that's that third that determines whether a chord is major or minor. So if you remove the third and you just 1 and 5, then you get power chord. Power chords they're not major nor minor. I always just like to call them, they're the androgynous chord. So that shape that you've probably already done a million times, that's what that is a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you're just playing 1 and 5. All right. So for T.N.T, so we start off, we've got that E5, and it is, I'm blind. I gotta zoom in just a little bit. Oh, okay. So it is this E5. We start off, it's a quarter note. So this is in 4/4 timing. So it means in every measure you just count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. So on the downbeat of 1, we've got that E5. And then right after that, and this is just I'm kind of going into a little bit more detail for those of you who are, a little, green and, new, that when you're like looking at the transcription, the way that I do them is it'll have the tab, and then up above it, it has the notation. So the notation, you don't need to be able to read it to be able to, say, oh, that's a G or that's an F or whatever. But you do want to be able to identify what a quarter note looks like, what an eighth note looks like, a half note, so on and so forth, and the rest. So if you look up at on there, you can see that it has that E5, which is a quarter note, and then right next to it, it doesn't show it in the tab, but in the notation, you can see there's that kind of a squiggly line that, I don't know, to me, it always kind of looks like if you look up and there's like birds, like a seagull flying over, guiding over, it kind of looks like the profile of a seagull. That is a quarter note rest. So a rest is just a moment of silence in the music, but the counting still goes on. And anyway, this one is dotted, so it has that little dot after it. So anytime you see, whether it be a note or it be a rest, and it has a little dot after it, what that means is that you just add 50% of its value to it. So in this particular case, since it's a quarter note rest that's dotted, it will get the quarter note rest silence, plus it'll also get a half of a beat, so like an eighth note. So if you're counting, it would be 1, 2, and then on the and of 3, you're just going to take your second finger and you're going to bring it up and you're going to play just the third fret of the low E string. And then there's another rest. So that little rest that's there is an eighth note rest. So you're going to be like 1, 2, and 3. And then on the end of that, you rest. And then you've got that A. It's an A5. So for the A5, you're just going to take, that's just like when we were talking about your chords that you already know. That's just like a regular A major chord. But we're only playing the A, D, and G strings because A is your 1. This E here is 5. And then another A. I mean, if we played the B string, that's a C sharp, and that would be the third, but we don't want that in there. So we just strum just the E, A, and D string. Now, another thing too I want to mention with power chords is that sometimes you'll see them written where they're played on 3 strings, and sometimes you'll see them written where they're only played on 2 strings. So let's just look at that E5, for instance. So you know that the low E string open is an E, obviously. Then the second fret of the A string is a B. The second fret of the D string is another E. So we're going E, B, E. Now, if we left that top E off and just played just the E and A string, it's still the same chord. We're instead of doubling that root note, we're just getting the single note. So a lot of times, the reason I'm explaining this is because for beginners, a lot of times it's just easier. I mean, when you're just doing one, just with one finger like that's pretty easy. But let's just say that it was supposed to be, A5 here. Well, you could play it just with, but you could also add in that note. So sometimes that's just, that just complicates it a little bit for the beginner sometimes. So anyhow, the reason I'm just going over this is so you can literally on those fifth chords, whatever the higher string note is, you can 99% of the time you can leave that out and it's not going to make a big deal. All right. Southern American Lady Rocker Fan, 1998. Wow, that's a long name. Hell's Bells is a great song. Another one of my favorite riffs of them, but it is not one of the ones that I chose for tonight. But I am going, like I said at the beginning, I will be doing a part 2, if you should call it, of this, and that'll definitely be one of the songs that's in there. Because I kind of figured we could start it off, a little milder, and then kind of work our way up. But I am saving the 4th one tonight for the players that are a little bit more advanced and stuff. So, yeah, Hell's Bells is a great tune. But also, you can, if you go onto this channel, Guitar Control, and you search Hell's Bells, I actually did a lesson on that song not too long ago, so you can find it there as well. All right, so we've got Sin City. Thank you, Brian. That's absolutely right. That is a super easy one. That one didn't even cross my mind. I was kind of a little bit late getting prepared to do this. I've been having some issues with flooding in my house, and this was almost somewhat of a last minute kind of a thing to throw these things together. But yeah, you're right. That is a super, super easy one. Okay, so for T.N.T, we got that E5, then the rest. Then we're going to go to the 3rd fret of the low E, another rest, and then to the A5. Now, with this A5, if you look on there, it's the last thing on that first measure. But then if you look onto the second measure, it shows the same tab, but it's in parentheses. And then if you look up at the notation, you can see those lines that are like going across that are connecting the notes together. So what this is what's called a tied note. So what it is that this note, this chord, they wanted it to ring for the duration of a quarter note. But if they would have made it a quarter note, then it would have made too many beats in the measure. So they cut it in half, and then they tie it into the next measure. So what that means is when you see that in the tabs, the notation or the numbers that are in parentheses, and then you can look up and see where the notes have those lines connecting them. You don't strum it again. You just let it ring out for that duration. So when you're hitting this A, it's actually on the and of 4. So it's like and and then, or and one, and then you rest on the end of one and the downbeat of two. It's kind of, the timing on this is kind of complicated. I mean, it's really going to be more of a thing you kind of want to feel out. Last week I was talking about this about counting and stuff like that. Somebody left a comment that says guitar players don't count, they just feel. And yeah, that's very true. But I'm a big believer in knowledge is power, and that the more you know and you understand about stuff, the better you're going to be. But when you get down to the end of the day, I mean, if anybody here has ever gone to an AC/DC concert and seen a music stand on stage that Angus Young was sight reading from, I'd love to hear it, because that is how it works. They just play it by feel. Oh, and I got a whole bunch of stuff coming in here. Yeah, well, definitely put Sin City in the next one. Do you need licks for lessons? If you are meaning like ideas, absolutely. That goes for anybody. If anybody's got any suggestions for topics that we could go over in these live streams or anything like that, leave them in there. And in fact, if you do have suggestions, be sure that you put them in not the live stream comments, but the comments of the actual video. I think you might possibly have to wait until it's over to do that, because once this is over, everything that we've put here just disappears. But if you do it, if you leave the comment on the actual video, like the rerun of the video after we're done, then I'll be able to see it. Long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. Man, that's right. That's another one that's super easy. Now that one right there might take the cake for the easiest one. Yeah, Sin City is a really cool tune for sure. But yeah, I never even thought of that. All right, so let's we're like 18 minutes in and we haven't even finished two measures yet. So let's try to finish this. I want to make sure we get to the one, because the fourth one is going to take a little bit longer to get through it. It's pretty complicated. Well, I shouldn't say it's complicated, but it's a lot more difficult than these are. All right, so we have the E5. Then we do that rest, back to that third note, that G there, back to the A, back to the G, rest, and then it just repeats. So it's like. So there's not a whole lot to it. It's like. Now I didn't put the tab on for that part of it, but it's pretty easy. All right, so that's T.N.T. All right, see here. So the next one we look at is Dirty Deeds. Now this one is it's pretty easy too. Maybe we're kicking it up a notch a little bit from T.N.T. for sure. So we start off with that same old E5 again. Now here's another example of tied notes. So look up there in the notation, and you can see that this E5, what we're landing on, is a half note. And then it's tied to a quarter note. And then that quarter note is tied to an eighth note. So you're going to actually play this 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the and of 4, we do a G5. Now, a G5 that, if you've had experience playing a lot, it's like the regular power chords like that, you might already know of G5 as being like this. But like I said, what makes a fifth chord a fifth is that you're playing the first note, the root note, whatever it is. In this case, it's a G, and then you're also playing the fifth note. So if we count up 5 from G, G, A, B, C, D. So if you play G and D together, that's G5. Well, AC/DC does this a lot, and I think that this is a lot of stuff that came from the influence of Malcolm Young. Everybody out, always, whenever you think of AC/DC, everybody always thinks of Angus Young, because a lot of it is because of the schoolboy outfit and how wild he is on stage and stuff like that. And he's a great guitar player. But his brother, his late brother, Malcolm, he was the sound of AC/DC, in my opinion. I mean, the chords that he played and just the stuff he did with the rhythms just really gave them their sound, and it's gonna be sorely missed by myself in their music for sure. But what he's doing here is he's just picking up the G here, and then the D string open, and then another G. So he's just getting that much of it instead of he's getting it that way. So when you go to play this chord this way, one of the problems you might run into is that you don't want that A. So you want So what I do is I take my middle finger, and when I play that, I just kind of let it lean forward a little bit, so the pad of my finger is just lightly touching the A string, so that way it's not just ringing out. And then you get that G5 like that. Now, another way you can do it that they do in a lot of their songs too is just take the regular G chord like this, and you don't want the third. So the third in this chord is the B right here on the second fret of the A string. So I just, again, let my middle finger kind of droop down so it's muting that A string. Then I've got a G muted, D, G, D, G. And then you get a really big full sounding power chord, and it's not just the lower notes, you get those higher ones too. And again, like that's a big part of their sound. So we strum that G on the and a 4, and it's an eighth note, and if you look on the next measure, it's tied to an eighth note. So it's another case where they want it to ring out for the duration of a quarter note, but it's at the end of the it wouldn't have added up to 4 within the measure. Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. I guess is it J-Man Zoom? I guess that's how you'd say that. Oh, from Coachella, California. All right, awesome. Thanks for joining. Okay, where was I? As you guys get to know me better, you're gonna find out that I have the attention span of. Well, have you seen the shirt that says instead of Argentina? Oh, cool. One of the guys that works at Guitar Control actually is from Argentina. Silvio Gazquez, he's from Argentina. The shirt that says ADHD, highway to hey look a squirrel. That's me to a T. Oh, nice. I got that's got to be some kind of a first for me, because I'm usually really bad with the name pronunciations, especially the social media names. Sometimes they're weird and it's hard for me to tell. But I figured that with the XOOM, I mean, what else could it possibly be, right? great shirt name. I'm not sure what you mean. I grew my hair out. Oh, okay, I get it. A combo of your first and last name. Okay, I get it. I grew my hair out. Yeah, it must have really been a long time ago if you see it, because I think there's like 2 or 3 videos on my YouTube channel with me with short hair. I always had long hair, and then I whacked it all off, and then I let it grow out, and I'm really considering chopping it off again. And sometimes it's a pain in the you know what. Okay, so for Dirty Deeds, it's another one. It's kind of the counting is weird, but we're going to do it. We're going to kind of feel our way through it. So we've got that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 and. Now on the and 1 on the second major, we go back to the E5, and it's a half note tied to a quarter note. So again, the counting would be weird. It would be and 2 and 3 and then on the or wait a minute, 1 and 2 and 3 and then on the and to 4 we go to an A. Please talk about picking dynamics. Yeah, we'll do some ones that are on some live streaming that's on technique. At first, I kind of just started out. That's all I was doing, and then I realized that it gets that can get kind of boring. I mean, it's a necessary evil to work on technique and theory and all that kind of stuff, but it can get kind of boring. A little more. It's more fun to kind of play songs and stuff like that, but you still want to work on those other things. So what I really try to do a lot of times is just I try to use riffs to practice techniques and stuff, and that's some stuff that we'll go through. There's actually an AC/DC riff that is a really great picking exercise. Oh, thank you for subscribing. My videos were the first to stumble on. I've been playing for years now. Definitely not a beginner anymore. All right, awesome. That's great. Yeah, my own personal YouTube channel. I can't even think of the last time I uploaded anything on it. I really need to get back into it, but I'm super lazy when it comes to this kind of stuff. So back to this. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying. The channel's been around longer than I have been with them. I've been with Guitar Control for I don't know, 7 or 8 years now, something like that. But they've been around. They've got other instructors besides me. They just didn't have anybody that was willing to commit to do the live streams weekly, and I did it, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I've been having a good time with this. Yeah, so this rhythm on this is kind of consistently the same all the way through it. So we have the E, G, E, and now we're going to go to an A5, just like we did in T.N.T. Back to the E. So. Now we're going to go to a D5. So again, you could do D5 like this, but we're doing, the AC/DC style. Oh, thank you, Stefan. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like sometimes maybe I needed to shut up and play, and I feel like sometimes maybe I kind of rattle on too much. But that's when I was a little kid. My parents used to call me motor mouth because I wouldn't shut up. But on the other hand, sometimes I watch videos, other people's instructional videos on YouTube, and it's just like they're so vague that I've often thought that if you weren't at a certain level, you just wouldn't get it. And I don't want to be like that. I want to be able to make it so the information is accessible to anybody. I mean, when I grew up playing, we didn't have anything like this. I mean, this would have been amazing. Okay, so for this D5, we're actually, if you just take your regular D chord that you normally, already know how to do, we have D and we have an A, because that's the 5, D, E, F, G, A. And then we have another D here, and then the third is an F sharp. That's the second fret here. So we want to do 5, so we don't want that high E string note. So when we come down to do that, and you can just do it like how you normally do it, and you can take your middle finger off, or you can just roll your third finger up just a little bit, so it mutes that first string. Oh, please explain my shirt. I was like going, what? This is have a guitar pick endorsement with Sinister Guitar Picks. Whoops. And we have this is just a shirt from them. So yeah, it's like their logo on one side, and then my name and the band logo on the other side. Really dig their stuff. If you're in the market for some really nice guitar picks that you can get, custom done, check them out. Sinister Guitar Picks. Yeah, so we want to do that D without that high E. So I just kind of roll my finger up, and even if sometimes I'll just do it with my first and second finger. I can't even remember how I do it on this. I guess we'll have to see here again. So. So I guess I use my first and second finger. And then it just starts over again. So that's Dirty Deeds. That's another really, really, really easy one. Talking about AC/DC chord shapes, came to mind that this is a classic clean chord technique, Malcolm, that evolved together with amp scaling development. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Malcolm was the man. I mean, there's so many. I mean, this right here, I want to show you. This isn't something I had in the thing for today, but in the song For Those About to Rock. So, it's got the part that Angus is playing. And then Malcolm comes in and he plays this B5 power chord. And then he goes, instead of it's an A, but instead of going like that, he does this B5 over A. I love that sound right there. I mean, that's just, it's just such a cool sound. You can see it gives me the goosebumps. Please show a close-up of your guitar finish. How well you can see that. I've got the sheet music on the screen. Let me close that down. Yeah, so this is I have a, sorry, again, see, squirrel distracted. I have an endorsement with this company, Spear Guitar, and this is just one of this is called a Gladius, and this finish is called Scratched Iron, and that's, all the way around on it and stuff. Just checked out your original band a couple days ago, and I have to say it's pretty good. Kind of gives me a Metal Church vibe. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Big fan of Metal Church. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, here. So let's see. Highway to Hell. So that's the next one we're going to look at is Highway to Hell. So again, we're kicking it up just a little bit of a, kicking it up a notch on this one. little bit more difficult, but still nothing, you know, nothing too bad. So we start off with that same A5 that we've done. It's one thing with AC/DC, and this is actually kind of funny, is there's on the Guitar Controls Facebook page, they have like these different memes with different guitar players and stuff. And there's one that it's Angus Young, and it has a quote from him that says, "I'm really tired of people saying that we've just made the same album over and over again 11 times when in actuality it's 12," or something like that. I just thought it was really funny that they do recycle a lot of their stuff, but they can get away with it. Some bands can't do that, but they can. And they're doing something right, because they're one of the only bands from that era that's still playing in you know, stadiums and stuff. I went and watched bands that I saw play in stadiums in the 80s, and now I can go see them at the local bar because you know, just because the way everything's changed. And that's not a knock on them. I mean, it's not like I'm playing stadiums. All right, so for this, we've got 3/8 notes, and then we have a rest. So we look at this rest, it's just a little dash. So it is a half note rest. If the little dash was on the lower side of that bar, it would be a whole note rest. So we've got, it's like you're just like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then on the end of 4, we go to this chord that's D5 over F sharp. So there's a couple of ways that you can play this. So if you've ever seen the chord before, it's just D over F sharp, where you play a D chord and then you use your thumb to pick up the second fret, the F sharp here on the second fret of the low E. It's basically that chord, but again, we're leaving the high E out of it because that's where the third is. We want this to be just like a fifth. But I don't do it quite like that. My thumb on my left hand is, I mean, see, like, bend this one, all this stuff. This thumb doesn't really do a whole. I can bend it here, but here it doesn't bend a lot. Car accident, I screwed it up a long time ago. So doing those thumb chords is pretty uncomfortable, to say the least. So I don't do that unless I absolutely have to. So I'll just show you the way you can do it with your thumb, if you know. Now, I'm just playing the D, regular D shape, but I don't want that first string to ring. So I'm just letting my third finger kind of droop over to mute it. I'm using my thumb to pick up the F sharp. And then I bring my middle finger up to grab the G here, because it goes D5 over F sharp. And then it goes to D5 over G, which is just this chord, but we're making a G the lowest note. So the way that I do it, instead of using my thumb, so what I'm doing is I've got my first finger here on the second fret of the low E, and my middle finger on the second fret of the G string, and then my third finger on the third fret of the B string. So I'm getting the D there, and then I have to switch those fingers back and forth. So for most of you, it's probably going to be easier to do it the other way. But like I said, just for me, I hate using my thumb to try to play chords. I mean, sometimes there's no way around it. But in this, you know, there is. You don't have to do it that way. So we've got that. And then the D5 over F sharp twice to G. Now, when we go to that G, that's on the and of 1, and then we have a half note rest. Then we have another 8th note rest, and then on the and of 4, we go back to the D5 again over F sharp. So it's like the same thing again. So we've got all those rests in there because you want to have that space. You don't want you want to have that space in there because a lot of times in music, uh, it's not just the notes, but it's the space in between the notes. Sometimes that's really kind of what really makes the melody, makes stuff sound good. No thumb, no Hendrix chord. Yeah, yeah, I know. It's a it's a mega bummer. Um, I love Hendrix. I love his playing, but honestly, I don't really know. I learned like Purple Haze and Foxy Lady and a couple of things like that, but that's really the extent of it because it just a lot of it was just too hard for me to be able to to get some of the stuff that he did. All right, yeah. So Highway to Hell. And then it just repeats. That's basically the extent of that one. All right, so we've done T.N.T, Dirty Deeds, and Highway to Hell. Those are all, pretty simple ones, kind of building our way up. So before I move on, does anybody have any questions about any of these three? So if you're a beginner and you're having a little trouble with this, you're not quite sure how to do something, now's the time to ask. Funny thing, I don't count beats. I just play drums in my mind and keep accent time with my right leg. Well, in a way, you're still kind of counting because you're making sure that you're keeping an account of that space. I don't mean necessarily like while you're playing that you're going to be like counting, you know, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Doing that. I mean, it would be. I don't think I could do that if my life depended on it. Whole lot of Rosie. Another good one that would be for the next one. Yeah. So, like I said, if you have any ideas for stuff for lessons or even like future, because I will be doing this AC/DC thing again. When the live stream ends, go to the rerun and leave it in the comments there, so that way I can see it. Because, like I said, once this hangs up, everything that we've done here just goes away. I wish there was some way to save it. I guess maybe I could do a screenshot. I didn't think about that, if I can figure out how to do it. All right. So for the final one that I want to do, and like I was saying, this is like one of my all-time favorite, if not my absolute favorite AC/DC riffs. It's the like intro riff, main riff for Have a Drink on Me. I don't know. I just think it just sounds so good. It's just such a cool bluesy riff. And this is obviously going to be a lot more difficult than like T.N.T or something. But I wanted to be able to have something for the people who, aren't just totally beginners and stuff. And even if you are a beginner, you'll have You'll have the tabs for this. You'll have the video that you can look at and kind of see, the way I'm explaining at which fingers to use and stuff like that. So it's something that you could, be able to work yourself into doing. All right. So the very first thing, we're going to start here on the 7th fret of the G string with your 3rd finger. And we're going to pick that and slide to the 9th fret. Now we want, it's not the speed that you're doing the slide. It's almost like a slide from nowhere. So this is another thing too that we can kind of point out in the tab, that if you look at the tab, that 7, the font is like much smaller than the other fonts are. And then if we look up at the notation, you can see that the note is actually smaller too. So this note doesn't actually get accounted into the time. That 9, that when you go slide up at the 9th fret, that's still considered the downbeat of 1. So what I do is I slide up and then immediately drop your 2nd finger down onto the 8th fret of the B string. And you want to let those notes ring out over the top of each other. Now, here again, we've got that tied note. It's we're hitting this on the end of 1, and then it's tied to a dotted half note. So like we were saying earlier, if the note has a dot after it, you add 50% of its value to it. So a half note is 2 beats. Half of 2 is 1. So you add that to it, it's 3. So we've got 1 and 2, 3, 4. And then on the next measure, it's tied still to a whole note. And then you can see that squiggly line, that's for vibrato. So you're going to let that ring out for a total of 7 beats. So that's like the first 2 measures. And then on the 3rd measure, we do that same thing again, but this time we're going to quickly do this other little riff. So as soon as we come up and hit that 8th fret of the B string, your 3rd finger still here on 9, you're going to slide it back down to 7 and simultaneously put your 1st finger down onto the 5th fret of the 3rd string and then do a pull off. So particular thing right there, when I first learned this, that was one of the hardest things to get down, was to get that so it has that tuplet to it that it has there. So there's another thing. When you see and if you're new and don't know what a triplet is, this is probably like the worst example to look at. But if you look at there, you got that 9 slide to 7, pull off to 5. But if you look at the notation, you see how there's that bracket with the little number 3. That's meaning that it's a tuplet. And if it was, and that's 16th notes. If it was 8th notes, the 3 notes takes up a beat, like, triplet, like 1 yellow, 2 yellow. But in this case, it's a 16th note, so it's the 3 notes takes up the equivalent of half of a beat. And then you're going to go to the 7th fret of the D string with your 3rd finger, and then roll that finger up so you hit the 7th fret of the G string. Then to the 5th fret of the G string, back to the 7th fret of the D string, and then the A string open. That's a sweet riff right there. I really dig that. Now, it's not like Angus Young invented this or anything. This is the same type of stuff that like Muddy Waters did. and Angus Young is heavily influenced by all the old blues greats, and Muddy Waters is one of the people that he credits a lot. You don't have this one. Do you mean that you don't have the tabs? Because the tab should be, it should be actually two documents, one that has those first three that we went over, and then one that has just this. And I just realized that I didn't put the title on it. The title's on the thing, but it doesn't actually say on the page that it's Have a Drink on Me. So anyhow, if anybody is having any problems with downloading the tabs or anything, let me know. But as far as I know, everything should be working all right. All right, yeah, so that's the first three measures. Oh, he didn't print the second page. Yeah, you're going to want to get that second page for sure, because that has this on it. And this is definitely the in my opinion anyway, the coolest of the three that we did, or of the four that we're doing. Yeah, so that's the first three measures. Whoops. Now, as soon as we do that open A string, now we have, and I didn't put the chord name in there. Dang it. So one of the things that I think is really, really cool too in this is that some of these chords here, we're barring the fifth fret of the D, G, and B string, and then we're going to strum that along with the open A, and we're going to do a hammer on to the sixth fret of the G string, because that makes an A7 chord, which I just think just sounds really awesome. Seventh chords go hand in hand with blues riffs, and I know this is like it's a rock and roll song, but Chuck Berry said that the blues had a baby and they named it rock and roll. So all of the cool rock stuff that we have now and appreciate can all be traced back to these original blues guys, Muddy Waters and Robert Johnson and guys like that. Okay, so we're going to do that hammer, and then follow that with two open A strings, and then take your third finger and excuse me, take your third finger and bar it across the seventh fret of the D, G, and B string, and strum also with the open A string. And then we follow that with another open A, and then it just repeats that riff in the third measure. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Like going, bless you. I get it. Yeah, because of the sneeze. I think that's the first time I've sneezed on camera. I've had close calls, but then it always, I get robbed of it. Don't you hate that? All right. So I like it better that way. And then that part of it just keeps repeating. So if as far as for practicing this, I would kind of break it up into chunks. I would break up just the first two measures. Whoops. Kind of break that up, and then work on that. And then when you go on to the third measure, just work on it slow. So you really kind of just get that muscle memory for your fingers. So that way you're not having to put so much focus into where you can just kind of ZZ Top, waiting on a bus. Hey, ZZ Top, that's a good idea. We could do some, you know, maybe we should do that. Do some ZZ Top riffs. Not tonight, obviously, but you know, in a future one. So there's actually a part of this that I'm not exactly sure what I did wrong. There's a couple of measures that are cut off on this, but it's really easy. I can just show you. So after you do the let me come down to a B5, and then just the open A string, and then back, and then just an A. So. So yeah, it's a little bit more challenging, you know, for sure than the other ones were, but it's something that, you know, if you've got a little bit of experience, you can work on. If you're more of an intermediate or advanced player, it's probably not going to be too tough. You might already even know how to play it. But yeah, so that's it. That's the 4 AC/DC riffs that I had for tonight. And like I said, we'll do this again because, you know, talk about a back catalog of material. You know, we could do this every week for 6 months. We're not, but we could. So if you do have ideas, like, you know, some people put in there a whole lot of Rosie and Long Way to the Top, a couple others that I've already forgotten. So if you've got some ideas for, you know, some future ones, or just other ideas for subjects that we could cover and stuff, when as soon as we're done and I hang up like we're on the phone, leave it in the comments on that video, so that way I'll see them, because like I said, these comments will just disappear. Sin City, that's right, Sin City. So yeah, if you could do that, put them in there, and then I'll put that together. Love this channel. Grew up in the 70s. Maybe you can do some old Sabbath in the future. Yeah, I've already got that in the plans. I am a huge Sabbath fan. I originally started playing guitar because of Kiss when I was like 6 years old. I saw them on TV and I just thought it was pretty awesome. But when I really started getting into playing and learning how to play riffs and things and songs that I thought were cool, as opposed to, my guitar teacher, I learned, like some Neil Diamond and John Denver and stuff like that. But when I started like learning like, cool stuff, I had Black Sabbath Greatest Hits on vinyl, and I just put that on and I learned how to play everything on it except changes, because it was, on the piano. And so, I learned, Paranoid, Iron Man, NIB, War Pigs, Fairies Wear Boots, all those songs like that. Into the Void. I don't think Into the Void was on that album, but I ended up, I've been in a couple of Black Sabbath tribute bands, so I know quite a bit of their material. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing some Black Sabbath nights for sure. And if there's enough interest, we could do some old Kiss riffs too. They're, Judas Priest too. Yeah. See, I was also in Judas Priest tribute band and know a lot of their stuff too. So yeah, for sure. Huge Judas Priest. Oh, Overkill does a cover of Changes. I'll have to check that out. I mean, that was my, 13-year-old mind at the time was, oh, this is on piano, so I can't play it on guitar. But yeah, so definitely. So yeah, these ideas, like I said, when we're done here, please put them on the, in the comments on the actual, like the rerun of the video, so I can see them, and I'll get them all down and put some more stuff together. But we are out of time for tonight. So real quick, does anybody have any questions or anything that I could, answer for them? Don't have a lot of time. I was like worried that that this wasn't going to be enough material, and it ended up being more than enough. You are welcome. Yes, every week, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Every once in a while, something happens that causes me to not be able to do it on Wednesday. And then what I end up doing it is on Thursday, but an hour later. But I try to avoid that whenever possible because that also kind of screws up my schedule. But like we had to do that a couple weeks ago because I had, flooding here at my house. And when that happens, it makes it sometimes almost impossible to be even able to get into this room. And then something else I wanted to mention too, that I also do private lessons over the web camera through Google Meet. So if anybody has any interest in that, you can. Sorry, I can't walk and chew gum at the same time. That's an email address right there where you can shoot me an email, and we can talk about it if anybody's interested in doing private lessons. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. I appreciate it. It's, like I said, this has been having a good time. The first couple of weeks was pretty nerve-wracking because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm at least a little bit more. I don't feel like I'm going to have a panic attack during the during the live stream anymore. So, yeah. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. And leave them ideas on the other, not to keep repeating myself, but after we hang up, leave them in the comments there, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on that too. It really helps me and shows them that I'm doing a good job and that's something you guys are into. All right. So thanks again for everybody for coming out. Appreciate it. And I will see y'all next week. Have a good one, everybody.